Welcome, curious minds, to another deep dive. Great to be here. Today we're journeying into, well, a really fascinating realm of Zimbabwean ancestral spirituality, the very current topic hit. Okay, so let's try and unpack this, and crucially, how that whole dynamic has quite profoundly, it seems, over time.
Absolutely. We've got some incredible material to work with. We Have It offers a fantastic shortcut into understanding this intricate world of water spirits and the profound connections many Zimbabwean youths are actually seeking with them right now.
It shows how deeply these belief systems can adapt or, well, sometimes diverge.
Today is to get a handle on the complex nature of these ancestral spirits. Specifically, we need to differentiate between what are considered good ancestral water spirits and those seen as bad or maybe even foreign.
Diverge quite sharply. What's really fascinating, I think, is this nuanced perspective.
It's like a story of ancient traditions bumping up against modern influences.
That ancestral spirituality itself isn't just one single thing. It's not monolithic. And so, yeah, you're definitely in for an illuminating exploration. We'll look at the spiritual dichotomy and how it's evolved. Yes, 31. That's a lot of
point and complex too. Our sources, they reveal there are both beneficial and detrimental spirits within this sphere known broadly as main spirits, or sometimes more specifically as Mashavi.
Specific types, and here's where it gets really interesting. So that split, the sources mention 16 identified as evil, 15 considered.
Jumps right in, doesn't it? It introduces this rich pantheon main spirits categorized into an astonishing 31 distinct types of human-like water creatures, primarily known as
considered good. That's almost perfectly balanced, so navigating it requires real discernment.
You said they aren't all the same, not cut from the same cloth at all. No, it's not a simple case where they're all good or all bad.
Even within what we broadly call ancestral practices, it highlights a need for very deliberate engagement with specific spiritual entities.
That near-perfect split, it suggests more than just a number, doesn't it? It points to maybe a deep-seated understanding in traditional Zimbabwean spirituality. The spiritual realm itself is dualistic, not simply good or bad.
You'd need precise knowledge, some benevolent, some malevolent, absolutely essential. It wasn't just seeking connection for its own sake. There was a clear, vital intent. Firstly, healing, and not just fixing a broken...
Okay, so when we talk about Njuzu, we're referring to these specific human-like water creatures. Some helpful, some not so much.
Leg, but restoring health to the whole community.
This exploration of the diverse Njuzu, it naturally leads us to ask, how did people traditionally interact with this whole pantheon, this varied group, and what was the real purpose behind those connections in the past?
Community, collective.
Historically, the focus seems to have been overwhelmingly on connecting with the good water spirits, the beneficial ones. These entities, they're often described as living in local rivers, local pools, and they were approached with very specific aims in mind. Community-oriented aims. Things essential for survival, maybe and well-being.
Health makes sense. Absolutely vital for an agricultural society, yes. And thirdly, and this is huge in a
distinction, isn't it? And it really sets the stage for understanding the why behind these connections. Material highlights 3 core traditional benefits people sought from these good spirits. What are they?
A region prone to drought, rain-making powers. If your community is facing a severe drought, connecting with a spirit for rain makes perfect sense for survival.
Ensuring fertility. Again, not just about having children, but fertility of the land, crucial for farming communities.
No, not individual desires back then, but like we see with so many traditional practices, things change, things evolve.
Rainmaking, you can imagine how critical that would be, definitely.
And our sources point to a powerful factor here, acculturation. Corruption, that's a strong word. That claim that a
vivid picture, doesn't it? A spiritual practice deeply woven into the immediate well-being, the collective prosperity of the whole community, not just about what one person wanted.
That a spiritual ideology can be corrupted by outside influences, it really lands, doesn't it? So how does this corruption actually manifest? What does it look like on the ground when acculturation starts influencing these?
The blending or clashing of, they describe it as a significant force leading to what they actually call a corruption of the Zimbabwean human water world connection ideology.
These deep beliefs? Okay, so
implies more than just a minor shift. It suggests a substantial departure from the original understanding, the original practice. A reinterpretation maybe, or even perhaps abandoning core ideas for new games.
So different from the traditional good ones. Something far more individualistic. A clear turn away from that tradition.
Not just evolving naturally, it's presented as deviation, a significant one.
Traditional communal spirituality. So what does this individualistic drive look like then? What are people seeking from these manjusu, these unclean spirits?
Question, isn't it? And this is where the material gets quite sharp, quite insightful. What we see now in modern societies, driven largely by this acculturation, this mixing of cultures, and the growing embrace of what is specifically called unclean main spirits, or manjusu, unclean main spirits.
It does. The material is quite explicit here.
And the shift in motivation is profound. It's no longer about that collective survival, the community well-being we just talked about. It's something else.
It links this pursuit, this connection with unclean spirits to some pretty alarming societal issues such as
focus on healing for everyone, fertility for the land, rain for the crops. That seems to erode. Yes.
Well, it lists several social vices, prostitution, various forms of cultism, even modern takes on witchcraft and wizardry.
Consequences. Does this shift have knock-on effects?
That seems to be the argument presented.
It's quite it paints a picture of spirituality almost being commodified, used for personal gain, but with very real negative consequences for the wider society. Moving away from community support towards, more individualistic, and it sounds like often darker pursuits.
The sources mention something called an injuzu yenhope.
Exploration of the darker side of main spirits, the menjushu. It brings up another question. What if someone finds themselves kind of tangled up with these unclean entities, especially if they also have a genuine ancestral water spirit?
It's needed to receive and actually realize that in
Juzu Yenhope, the ancestral one, that's a really interesting point. Like for individuals who do have that ancestral water spirit, that in Juzu Yenhope, but find its power or their connection blocked, maybe by these unclean main spirits, then cleansing becomes absolutely crucial.
Inherent ancestral talent.
Cleansing is key. And what about the traditional process for connecting properly with one's ancestral water spirit becoming a medium? Is that described?
Oh, yes. And it's described as quite profound. It involves a direct, almost mystical kind of engagement. Well, the sources describe the potential ancestral water spirit medium being, get this, cleansed and taught directly by the ancestral mermaid itself.
Made not by a human teacher?
Directly by the spirit. That's what the material states. This chosen person would literally be taken underwater for a certain period.
Underwater. Wow. And what happens then?
While they were gone, their family wouldn't just sit and wait. They'd perform specific, quite intricate water rites. Eventually, the person would return.
Pure and ready to service in different duties of ancestral water spirits, such as cure and ready to heal.
And these rites, were they common knowledge? No, we're told they were incredibly secretive, which really emphasizes their sacred nature, their exclusive quality passed down through direct spiritual initiation, it seems.
Highlights the deep mystical side of the traditional process, the reverence around it. It sounds like a real journey of spiritual transformation.
It does. Now, for those needing cleansing from the unclean,
Mains or water spirits, not this direct ancestral initiation, but more like a purification. The material indicates they should seek help, specifically the guidance and service of an established medium of an ancestral water spirit.
So you go to someone who has already gone through that process. That seems to be the recommendation. But it's not presented as a single standard procedure.
Very.
The process differs, apparently, due to diverse cultures and territories, often separated by different rivers, which makes sense. It speaks to how localized and nuanced these practices are.
Methodology is adapted, specific to the cultural context, the geography even, and the methods used for this cleansing, are they also varied?
They are. And fascinatingly, they incorporate elements of nature, very grounded. Like what?
Use everyday things like cow milk, mukaka, the text calls it, alongside natural spring water, mavura, yapa, chatapiti, and chitubu. Okay, simple natural elements. Also, water from secret pools and even water collected from powerful waterfalls.
It's remarkable how these natural, often readily available elements are woven into such profound spiritual rituals. It really shows a deep connection to the environment, doesn't it? And its perceived spiritual power.
There's another point where this acculturation, this change is really vivid, and it's quite a stark contrast. It's in the rituals themselves. So our sources state that things like dinners and parties are now linked with some of these unclean main spirits.
Dinners and parties. That sounds, whoa, very modern, very social.
Exactly. It suggests a social, almost celebratory kind of engagement, which feels like a world away from the traditional reverence we were just discussing.
That is a truly stark contrast, isn't it, compared to how ancestors interacted with the water spirits.
Additionally, thanks were given to the water spirits of fertility only during the Masuzo period, a specific time of year right linked to the harvest cycle.
Yes, specifically after a good harvest.
Events, these proceedings, they weren't casual get-togethers, not parties.
No, I imagine not.
Solemn, deeply spiritual ceremonies, and they were led by the Mindoro of the territory, the Mandoro.
So the ancestral spirit medium, or the guardian spirit for that specific region, a figure of immense spiritual authority.
Which really just underscores this profound shift both in the intention behind the ritual and the way it's practiced. From solemn communal gratitude for, life-sustaining bounty, to more contemporary, often social events tied perhaps to individual, maybe material gain.
The whole atmosphere, the purpose of the ritual, fundamentally altered. So we've definitely navigated a complex and I think really intriguing spiritual landscape today, understanding this distinction between good and bad ancestral water spirits and seeing how acculturation has apparently reshaped these ancient practices in Zimbabwe so profoundly.
Careful discernment of the different Nduzu types. To the transformation of spiritual goals, it's a vibrant, complex picture of belief, and what really stands out to me is how these traditional belief systems adapt or perhaps are adapted by people to meet changing societal needs and desires.
From focusing on communal well-being survival to focusing on individual wealth accumulation and personal protection, it's quite a swing.
Is, and it raises a big question, I think, for you. How do cultures maintain their core spiritual integrity when they face these evolving social pressures, these external influences?
And what does that choice, that shift between prioritizing the communal good versus individual gain, what does that tell us about a society at any particular time?
Thought, isn't it? When you trace that journey from seeking ancestral connections for healing and rain, communal needs, to these modern pursuits of wealth, it makes you think about the enduring human quest for understanding, maybe for influence over our world, and how that quest manifests so differently across cultures and times.
The drive might be similar, but the paths taken and the consequences vastly different.
Deep dive into Zimbabwean ancestral water spirits. It's a potent reminder. I feel that spirituality in all its forms is a living thing, a breathing aspect of culture, constantly in motion, evolving with the people who practice it.
It's never static, is it? Always responding to the human condition, always dynamic.
Stands out to you from this deep dive today. We hope this exploration has given you a useful shortcut to being well informed on this, and maybe sparked even more curiosity about these intricate links between spirituality, culture, and...
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for joining us on the deep dive.